Welcome back to the Blue Door Buff Thunderdome for another Bull with Andy Carlson, Minnesota's 87th Best Daily Podcast, a show about everything and nothing 5 days a week. Happy Tuesday, 2 for Tuesday coming at you. Sitting shotgun is Josh Pelto, Remax Preferred. You've heard the reads now, know the man. How's it going?
It's going pretty well. How are you?
Now, I'm good. This is I always catch myself because whenever we bring it in, I always ask, how you doing? And then the guests, since they're always nice people, ask, how are you doing? Then I never answer because I'm a dick.
You did answer there.
Yeah, because I'm working on it. I'm working.
It's a Minnesotan thing, right?
Now, we're working this in. You're sponsored the show. We know you. We love you. But also, this is not native advertising because we're going to talk about more than real estate. This is not going to be an infomercial.
I'm a sports rube.
Yeah.
I'm totally on board. Let's talk more than real estate.
Actually, let's kick it off with that. But first off, if you love the show, tell a friend, spread the word, add to the Jerome Homie Army, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Bullshow.co. Oh, and also like our Facebook page because there's going to be a fun little contest going to be going on here soon. I'm going to be giving away a little Blue Door Pub gift card love. So check that out. Also follow me on Instagram. I was bitching to you earlier. I'm trying to figure out Snapchat.
Yep.
Because all the kids are on Snapchat.
It's all the rage.
I feel old.
And I do too. And we're similar aged, but
yeah. I understand that you have to shift with the time. And the funny thing is, the wife graduated with a marketing degree from a lovely university, 4-year college, and we just paid off her debt. And she graduated in 2012 with a marketing degree. Zero mentions at all about social media.
It's interesting. I also have a marketing degree. Mm-hmm. I am a few years ahead of her, but that wasn't really in the lexicon at that time. Things have changed quick. Like
maybe there was a couple mentions about Facebook, but it's crazy how things have shifted in 5 years.
I think, like a lot of college classes, it's more high-level stuff, right?
Yeah.
They're trying to teach you the ins and outs of how to get to these people, but if marketing teachers are not teaching that, what are they even doing? I mean, I run a business. I market the hell out of myself on that stuff. So
now, Josh, now that you're here, why don't you tell the good people where to contact you?
Few ways. Phone is good. I do answer my phone, and I will return your call.
Almost real.
Yes. I deal with that every day. 763-213-4617. Email is always good. That is josh.pelto, Pelto, at remax.net. And then I just souped up my website a little bit. So search for houses, my testimonials from my past clients, joshpelto.com.
Who has the best real estate website out there, in your opinion?
Individual agents or brokerages?
Brokerages, because I have opinions.
That's, well, I have to go with my company, but, Zillow is the one that I think most people go to, and that's not associated with any brokerage whatsoever. So
I found the search functions just as a user are a little clunky on Zillow. I always like Edina Realty. Like I know that you're.
I used to work for Edina Realty. Actually.
Oh well, there you go.
Yeah.
I just find their site, even after they revamped it, it's very intuitive. It's very clean. I wish that you could search. You can only search for 5+ bedrooms. I'm just like, just get to 6.
Go for that very odd 6-bedroom house.
Well,
yes, they're out there.
Usually what I do is go 5+ bedroom, 5+ bathroom. That usually gets you to 6.
Sure.
But Andy has big plans for house number 2.
Hey, you got to have ambitions, right? Mm-hmm. Here's what I do. When my clients want to look, we pull them in and search through our system.
Yeah.
Those websites, all of them feed from our system. They're all a day or two behind. So I might get a list of 10 houses from a client. Hey, found these on Trulia, found these on Zillow. Well, they're all sold because the market's insane right now. So
now, how long has it been a seller's market?
It took a few years, but I feel like it kind of turned a corner in 2014, and it's only snowballed since then and gotten, I don't know if worse is the proper term, but our job is to connect buyers and sellers, and when it's an extreme seller's market, that's hard. I mean, I've had clients lose out on 5+ offers, and you kind of sit there and you bang your head against the wall, and unfortunately, we're subject to economics at the end of the day. So,
recently, what's been the most offers that your client has put in until they finally got one?
I want to say 6 is the most. it really varies. The price range has such a big part to do with that.
Yeah. Because we bought ours in 2014,
Yep.
I want to say, and ours was the first one that we offered on and was accepted right away. And then we just went off into escrow. But a couple of our friends bought, like 3 or 4 months later, and they were on like offer 7, 8, getting outbid, and the price was being driven up on these houses that were going for much less a couple months before.
Yeah.
Just crazy how we timed it.
It's insane. I started doing this in 2010, so this is right, post-market collapse,
Yep.
Great Recession, whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
And housing was the first kind of shoe to drop when the market or the economy collapsed, and I'm now reselling those houses for almost double what my client. So hey, good for them. That's fantastic.
Are you worried about another Great Recession coming up in the next decade?
I pay less attention to the broader economy. I'm more tuned into the housing sector. I worry less about it, but I'm getting that question a lot from my clients. Are we drastically overpaying for this? Is this bad timing? Is this, the deck of cards that's going to collapse?
Yeah.
One big thing, if you bought a house in the 2000s and you walked into a mortgage broker, they'd put their hand on your wrist, and if you have a pulse, hey, here's a mortgage. That's
it's
not
funny
the case.
because I remember, like, my wife and I, we were married and we rented for a number of years. We did it the right way. We saved up, made sure we had a nice down payment, make sure our credit was good and nice and clean. So when we bought the house, we were good to go. But I remember in college, like 05, 06, before the housing bubble burst, I was getting offers just like in the mail or just like soliciting phone calls like, hey, you have no job, you're in college, and you're deeply in debt, and you have no money, but hey, we can get you in a $400,000 house.
No credit risk whatsoever. It's not like that, and that's why I do think that, yes, prices have gone up dramatically. We essentially, if you look at the 7-county metro area, we're about back to where things were. Some areas are doing better. Now, if you go to Eden Prairie, Edina, I mean, we're well past where prices were. But
now, a lot of people think recession, depression, that's bad for everyone, except people who bought those houses that were foreclosed or short sales and knocked down prices. They're reaping the benefits now. The housing prices are back up.
Big time. I think that totally goes back to the point that it's about timing, right?
Well, it's like me and United stock. So,
yeah, exactly.
I always had a little bit in the portfolio beforehand, and then I bought a little bit more when the leggings thing happened, and then I bought a lot when
was that United that?
Yeah.
I guess I didn't even connect those dots.
Then I bought a lot when the Asian dude was dragged off the plane, and then they also recently just kicked off like a newlywed couple.
Yeah,
I didn't buy any more, but I'm like very intrigued.
That one didn't get the press coverage,
because that's going to rally.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they're a huge. The airline industry is so consolidated.
Like either they're gonna rally or they're gonna get sold. So either way,
could happen too.
Either way, I don't care.
They're just a fully publicly traded company, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now I have this question about pricing houses because there's a house in our neighborhood which, to the comps, it's drastically overpriced. Like it's a older folks' home, definitely older style. And it's mostly cosmetic. I'm sure it's got nice bones, good neighborhood, good schools, etc.
Yep.
But they drastically overpriced it, and it's been sitting on the market for 7 months. Now, if you're the realtor, that's probably not the way to go. But what I've seen a couple of them do is they drastically underprice it, like by 10%, and then you get a couple of people in the building, and then the bidding goes up. You get a couple of jabronis in, you got 5-6 people going back and forth, and all of a sudden you're selling for 15% more?
So here's what I'm seeing. If you underprice a house right now, your only risk is that if you get an offer in that first day, that buyer wants a response, right?
Yep.
They may have lost out on a house or two. Their agent is going to do whatever they can to pressure the sellers to respond. What I'm seeing a lot now is a house will come on the market on Wednesday afternoon. And they'll put right in our agent-to-agent communication, seller will not look at offers until Sunday. So they're giving themselves a bigger window, right? Because if you get that first offer and you don't respond to them, they get kind of pissed off, right?
I can see that.
We're talking about people's livelihoods here. You know, you got to have a roof over your house. So, but that comment that you made about the house in your neighborhood, We're seeing that actually quite a bit because sellers really, they know the market's good.
Yeah.
They read the newspaper, they watch the news. All of that information is publicly available.
Yeah.
The market is still sensitive to houses being priced appropriately. So you can push it, but the longer that house sits, the more questions agents have, buyers have. What's wrong with this house? What are we missing? Is something wrong with the lot? Is there something wrong structurally that we didn't catch?
How many people ask about ghosts?
That and murders, oddly enough.
Now, what's the Minnesota law about disclosing if a murder took place on the premises?
Pretty straightforward. If a homicide happened,
Yep.
have to disclose.
Okay.
Suicide, do not have to disclose.
Hey.
Haunted, do not have to disclose. Natural death, no.
What about if this place used to be used to process meth?
Do have to disclose. We
what-
literally have a form called methamphetamine production disclosure statement.
What about heroin?
That's not covered,
Yeah.
but it would
Yes.
be. But okay, here's the caveat. It would be a material fact, right, that might affect someone's ability to use and enjoy the property.
Oh no, it's a heroin that used to be living here. Yeah, female heroes, Hermione and Wonder Woman and whatnot.
Right. Prince lived there.
Yeah. Oh, poor Prince.
Yeah, that whole. Did you see the news today?
Yeah. Some of the search warrants are coming out, and I mean, I understand. Like everyone knew, like he was strung out. He
Sure.
OD'd. It's pretty much open and closed, and just sad.
It is all around.
Yeah.
Minnesota legend. I'm a musician.
Yeah.
Don't even love Prince, but
Yeah.
you have to love what he represented for our city.
Now, who's your favorite Minnesota musician?
Oh boy, that's a tough one. Let me get back to you.
Okay.
Come back to that in like 10 minutes.
Because if you say Bob Dylan after 10 minutes,
It's not.
I will kick you out.
It's not
Okay.
Bob Dylan. I like Bob Dylan.
Yeah.
Not the biggest fan. Not really in my wheelhouse. So. Yeah. Bob Dylan, very easy to do impressions of.
I love that Prince was worried about hacking, so he never used his phone, but just used a laptop.
I saw that.
I'm
Yeah.
like,
emails can't be.
come on, man.
Yeah. Pretty short-sighted Prince.
He was pretty short. He was only like 5'3" or something.
He was. Yeah. He's a little guy.
Over under 2,000 women slept with for Prince.
Whew. I guess I would. We're getting into like Wilt Chamberlain territory
Because
here.
Wilt Chamberlain's 10,000. Someone did the math. It's like almost physically impossible. Not just mathematically, but like physically.
It'd be hard to have like a very accomplished basketball career and then still do that today, right?
Yeah. Oh, and also, what counts? Like being in a room, does that count?
True.
As we've seen with the Gophers, apparently it does.
We got to have some standards here.
Yeah. Speaking of standards, I better audible out of this. Is there a white whale property in the cities that just cannot sell?
There is one, and I don't know the detail, and it may have sold, but I saw it a year ago, a massive property. I think it was in Orono, technically, but on Lake Minnetonka, big kind of peninsula-type property.
Yeah.
And the seller had been trying to sell it for a long time, right? At the end of the day, it's pricing.
Yeah. Now, do sellers sometimes get a little obtuse of like, hey, I will not sell below this amount, even
Absolutely.
though you know that that's way overpriced?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We get put in a tough position sometimes, right? We know real estate better than your average buyer or seller. We do this every day. How often does the average person sell or buy a house? Once every 5 years, 10 years, sometimes longer than that.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, the contracts we sign, the seller is kind of in control, right? We can offer our suggestions, our opinions, data, facts, whatever you want to call it. At the end of the day, it is their house and their call. So we have, a weekly sales meeting, and we debate this stuff all the time. If you have a seller that's unrealistic about their price, do you just take it in the hopes that, okay, over time I can chisel these guys down, right? Get them to where they should be.
Or maybe they'll kick the bucket and the state will be more open to negotiate.
Yeah. Well, depending on where you're at, definitely.
Yeah.
So that's I think you just found that house.
11.9 million.
Yep.
In Arano. Apparently, it's only 4-bedroom, but it's got 10 bath.
Those bedrooms got to be pretty large.
Yeah, 16,000 square feet. We're looking at it now. It's fairly nice.
That is I think they might have relisted it. These photos look different than what I saw.
Yeah. It looks a little bit like it's fine from a certain price range. You get too like opulent, like what old people used to think was opulent, because I found that there's a sweet spot between $500,000 and like 1.2 where it's modern, it's updated, it's what a 20 to 30, 40-year-old person would think of as really nice.
I think it gets... you're right on. You go through a neighborhood where you have a lot of very similar houses. Yeah. It's easy to comp that out. By comp, I mean comparable sales, right? Mm-hmm. You get a house like this, how do you even... Yeah. It's just like throwing a dart blindfolded. Yeah. You have no idea.
Well, what the neighbor's house sell for? We don't have neighbors. It's lake for 3 miles all around us.
Yeah, we have 30 acres.
We're on an isthmus.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Speaking of white whale properties, I didn't check the details, but literally right before I came here, there is a Frank Lloyd Wright designed house in St. Louis Park.
No.
And, man, it looks wild.
Yeah.
I can't even describe it.
Yeah, well, all Frank Lloyd Wright's houses, he just shifted the roof a couple feet. He's like, yeah, this is my house now.
Shift the roof over, put some weird angles in it.
Yeah.
I don't love those houses, but obviously they represent something to people.
Now,
so.
you typically work with first-time home buyers, second-time buyers?
Yeah.
Younger?
I'm a younger guy,
yep.
29.
Now, what are people generally looking for? Are they looking style-wise? Like, are they looking for craftsmen? Are they looking for, like, natural wood? Are they looking for suburban cookie cutter?
Sure. It really depends. I mean, some people, they're looking in one suburb, and that's all you get, right? I grew up in Champlin. Split-entry houses for days,
yep.
right? Thousands of them. You get down to Minneapolis, you get a lot of unique styles. You come across ramblers, 1.5 stories, 2 stories. So it depends. I think particularly, people buying their first house, I think at the end of the day, they want to get into something they know has good value,
yep.
and is structurally sound. All the cosmetic stuff, you can change that. So
yep.
I find that people don't get too hung up on that, depending on, are they at the top of their budget, bottom of their budget. It really varies, but young people do like the older houses, and that's why I love selling Minneapolis houses. They're awesome.
That's the wife and I's goal. Like, we would love to take an old style house, like the houses on Summit in St. Paul, Summit Avenue, and just if we can get the permits for it, because a lot of them are like historical, like protected.
It's true. It's true. You can't alter them.
Just looking to get permit to gut them, modernize all the interiors, like insulation, wiring, etc., and also make sure that get all the dead rats out of the chimney, and then button it back up with like the old style.
If you can take those old houses and recapture that charm, it's a gold mine. Yeah,
because I like that Nicole Curtis lady.
Yeah.
She works around here sometimes. She works in Detroit too, and
she's got a real fun one going on in North Minneapolis.
Oh, she does.
She convinced the city not to condemn it and knock it down.
Oh, was that the one that there was a Facebook war over, like her and the mayor, Hodges?
I don't know about that, but I know that she had promised by such and such date all of this work would be done. Didn't get done.
Yeah. I like her show, except she's too addicted to the old style. I'm just like, she's like, you don't need new windows, just wear a sweater. I'm just like, you know how much money is just like flying out those
literally
1930s windows
through the windows. Yeah. It's interesting. I like that idea of the renovation stuff, but I'm not opposed to knocking stuff down. I think I just had a conversation today with a client, and they're like, why aren't there any affordable new construction houses?
Yeah.
seems like everything's 4, 5, 600,000. Well, the problem is you can't build anywhere in the Twin Cities that's close because it's all developed, right?
Yep.
So you're literally talking about buying a house, knocking it down, and those are hard to come by, right? I think people are, if you're at that point, you're talking about low price. So I'm not opposed to knocking stuff down, unless it, obviously if it has significant historical value, then don't do it. But
now, how involved are you when there's a knockdown situation? Are you just the broker of the plot, and then they're sort of on their own, or do they have you involved in the rebuild?
It depends. I mean, so Minneapolis and Edina just went through this huge situation where the cities put a moratorium on knocking houses down. Because you get these complaints, especially Edina, right?
Yep.
You've got very wealthy people. They've got a little house. They don't want to.
What are we talking about? Old, rich white people are notoriously in favor of change.
Shocking, right? So, you look at those areas, and people are paying $500,000 to literally bulldoze a house, which is nuts.
Yep.
Right? So it really depends on the situation. A huge part of it is the city, right? They want to know what you're doing. I don't recommend knocking down a house without letting a city know or pulling a permit.
If you can get around it, you leave one wall up, and then it's a remod.
Yeah, open concept. Yeah. Extremely open concept. So a lot of times we're obviously involved in the acquisition of the property.
Yep.
People want to know, if I buy this property, build this, whatever their idea is. People are concerned about the, coming away ahead, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to, something happens, you get a new job, family. You don't want to build a $900,000 house and then have to resell it, and you have to pay realtors to sell your house. So it costs money.
It is a kind of a bad situation. Well, it's nice to have the nicest house in the neighborhood until you have to sell it.
Exactly. And I think that's one of those those tropes that people have stuck in their mind. Oh, I don't want to own the nicest house in the neighborhood. Well, somebody has to have the nicest house in the neighborhood, so what do you do?
Yeah. I think we got her switched.
Switcheroo.
Yeah. All right, so what'd you get?
I got the cluck, the chicken sandwich.
You got the cluck, yeah.
Cluck,
and I myself got the... Yeah, they took the breakfast mostly off the menu, except they have breakfast setup now.
They got it?
Is exactly what I did.
They got an alternate version for you?
Yeah. So that's how we're rolling. Also, how we're rolling is our new friends, The Enclosed. And, hey, fellas, it's, it's getting around summer, and you want to have a little fun, Temperature is getting warm out there, and your lady friend in need of some gifts. Go to theenclosed.com. Panties in the mail, knickers. I never use the word knickers. I feel like we should use it more.
It's a pretty great word.
Yeah.
I think we need to get that going.
Bring it on back. And here's what you do. You go in, fill out your preference, and order up 1, 3, 9, 12 months. I recommend going 12. And, hey, here's what you do. Put in promo code PFTW, as in Purple FTW, $15 off your order at checkout. Do it up. She'll thank you. Or, ladies, if you're listening, do it for yourself. It's going to be good times out there. Theenclosed.com, code PFTW for $15 off your order. All right, we'll be right back with more Josh Pelto right here at the Blue Door Boob. I got a fever, and the only prescription is more Purple for the Win podcast with Andy Carlson. Come to you all off-season long, covering free agency, the draft, OTAs, and then we're on to training camp. Get the show on 1500 ESPN, Podcast One, and the Podcast One app. And And come back into the Blue Door Pub Thunderdome, sitting here talking some real estate. And we're going to talk a little Vikings with my man, Josh Pelto, Remax Preferred. How's it going?
It's going great. I feel really nice after that cluck, yeah.
How was the cluck, yeah?
We need to give pretty some love. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
I love this place.
Yeah.
You don't need to sell me on what they're offering.
My favorite thing about Blue Door is that we'll have guests in here, and then I always treat the guests to a burger and a couple beers, and they always give like very nice unprompted testimony, like right after we eat.
They write themselves.
Yeah.
It's so good.
It's advertising you can't buy.
I need to explore the menu a little more now.
But I'm glad they do buy it.
Yes, right.
3 Twin Cities location, St. Paul, Longfellow, and University Como, thebdp.com. So I want to ask you, we talked a little bit on the break about HGTV and how it warps, putting it kindly, the expectations of home buyers.
How real do you want me to get here?
I want you to be mad real. In honor of Charlie Murphy.
I can be so
the mad real world.
I can be so real. No, they're very popular. I said during the break, I think they're complete BS.
Mm-hmm.
They do not reflect quote-unquote reality.
Yep.
I worry whether it puts a bad signal into people's head a little bit. Real estate is not... Buying a house is really challenging and scary and all of that.
It's the biggest purchase most people make in their lifetime.
Biggest asset. Yep, absolutely. So when I see... And granted, a lot of these take place in Southern California, New York City.
Yeah. Oh, no, the biggest pain in the ass is the love it or list it, when it takes place in Vancouver or Toronto. So you have the two.
Is that the one where they literally get like two?
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, we got this nice little 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath that's listed for $1.4 million. It's like you literally pick two of the most expensive residential cities in North America to base your show in.
I might be thinking of a different one. Is that the one, too, where they might not like either of them? And then they're like, oh, we found one that's $500K above your budget. And then they fall in love with that one.
Oh,
that might be a different one.
They do a little bit of that. They do it also on the one with the twins, the Property Brothers.
That's the one I'm thinking
where
of.
they, there's such a cock tease early on because I actually kind of respect it because, like we were talking about, people have unrealistic expectations. Mm-hmm. And what they'll do is they'll show these pie-in-the-sky couple a house that has everything on their list. And then it's like 1.5 times their budget.
Yeah, right.
It's like, oh, reality comes at you fast. And I do love the moment, especially when they always pan in on the wife of just the...
She's just mortified.
Because in the way that we're raising our youth, and this is a whole nother show for another day, that you can tell that's the first time that she's actually experienced losing.
Let down,
yeah.
I don't watch those shows.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe part of it is I spend my entire day and my nights and my weekends thinking about this stuff, but it is not reality. Contact me if you want to talk about actual reality. We'll find you a house.
Oh, there you go. That's big. Now, once the house, everyone talks about curb appeal and sprucing up the house. When you're coming in to buy, like what are the things that you can tell cheaply done as quickly as possible, and just to try and push the house out the door?
A lot of the interior finishes are easy to spot.
Yep.
Builder grade carpet.
Yeah.
Crappy trim. Even down to like the mechanicals. I mean, like anything in today's society, you can buy any range of quality of things. So I think that's one thing I bring to the table when I walk through a house with clients. I know that they're focused on, how nice are the countertops?
Yep.
How's the layout look?
I don't like this color of paint. It's like, you can paint. It costs $12.
That's a conversation I've had with a few clients. But I'm trying to look at the bigger stuff because all of that can be changed ultimately. Yeah. I mean, if I can do some of that stuff, anyone can do it.
Now, I'm a pretty big do-it-yourself guy. I'm relatively hands-on, pretty handy. Not like overly, but a couple of houses we looked at, you could tell that they quickly put down new carpet or painted and did like a really shitty job with the trim and whatnot. It's like, I would rather you just left it, and then I could have taken care of it myself, because now I have to rip up what you put down, which is a waste of time and your money. and then put in our own stuff.
I can't tell you how many basements I've been in
Yeah.
that they just finished.
Yep.
And even my clients can see it. They're like, oh, my, I wish they would have just done nothing.
Yeah.
I'd rather just do it how I want it to.
Yeah.
So, especially flipped houses.
Oh, God.
Be skeptical. There was a huge story in the Star Tribune. Did you see that?
I did not.
I think it was last week. Guy bought a house, expensive, $360 down by like the Hiawatha, Nokomis area. 4 days in, not a huge rainfall, water all over the basement.
Oh, geez.
Started ripping drywall off, black mold everywhere. These people, the video on StarTribune.com, they're wearing like gas masks when they go into the. It's like entering a war zone or something.
Now, how big of a deal is mold if you're buying a house? Because I've heard both ways.
I'm not going to pretend to be an expert.
Yeah.
You know, we kind of rely on the home inspection industry to identify this stuff, and they get handcuffed a little bit too because they can't rip walls off, right? There are varying degrees of mold and different levels of mold, so I don't have an easy answer on that one.
Why is the bad one got to be the black mold, Josh? How dare you?
It's pretty racist.
How dare you in the entire real estate industry?
I know.
Yeah. Lost my place. Now, what is the biggest mistake that couples come in when they're coming in to buy their first house?
Not budgeting.
Yeah,
I think.
We talked about people coming in house poor. Like, I think that's a trend nowadays because people are still trying to buy right away the same standard of living as their parents.
I know.
Even though it took them 35 years to build up.
Exactly. And we're in the same age group. I mean, you see all the articles about how millennials are worse off than their parents and all that stuff. Well, it took time for them to get to that point, right? Being house is a very real thing. If you are spending at the top of your budget, you come into a house, you might live there 2 months in Minnesota, and your furnace goes out. Well, a furnace is $4,000 or $5,000, right? It's not a cheap fix.
Yeah.
That ain't painting a kitchen, right? We talked about how cheap that kind of stuff is. You might get in and find out your roof is not in great shape. Average cost of a roof is $8,000 to $10,000 on a pretty basic house. So I encourage my clients to really think about that stuff. I don't want the call a year in that they're upset and angry. I want to do a good job for people.
Yeah.
You have a reputation in this business.
And like one of the things that we did when buying our first house, it was definitely below our budget. 3-bedroom, 2-bath. It's a good family starter house in a nice neighborhood. And what we did, made sure all of our ducks were in a row. Like I said before, good credit, good down payment, could afford the payments, etc. And what we were determined to do is we wanted to build up equity because we knew that we wanted to live in the area, didn't want to rent and throw that money away. Get the tax breaks, and also use it as a guinea pig, as a beta test for home ownership.
Because
it is so much different. Like you said, furnace going out, roof leaking, and just getting to know all the issues with taxes and how much it costs to re-asphalt or re-cement the driveway. And there's so many small things that you save a lot of money by learning to do yourself, like little fix-it jobs around the house, that I feel like you almost have to have a practice house. I
fully agree with you. I don't think people understand the scope of owning a house until you kind of just have to do it, right? I mean, I can sit down, and I do this with at least first-time home buyer, I definitely try to do it. Let's sit down and talk about what owning a house actually means, right? Yeah. It's not just writing out a mortgage check every month. There's so much more to it. But you learn so much, and kind of fast, right?
Yeah.
Life comes at you fast.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff you can't let it go. You got to fix it.
Yeah. I'm trying to say, knock on wood, we haven't had anything major go wrong with our house, but we've definitely made our own. We've ripped out carpets. We've painted. We've laid down laminate flooring.
I was going to say, you did a big patio project, too, didn't you?
I put in a brick patio.
How'd that go?
That is a bitch. I do not recommend it.
I did one a couple of years ago for a good friend.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
It's so much work.
Yeah, and I did the 4x6 bricks because I like that houndstooth look, but yeah, I think I go with the 1 foot by 1 foot pavers next time.
Did you do it all by hand?
Yeah. Not gonna lie.
Any trees nearby?
Yeah, there's a tree nearby. We got some
roots?
shade.
Yeah.
Didn't hit any roots, no.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
The one I did, right next to a big old tree.
Yeah.
Didn't realize what we were getting into until we started
Although
digging.
I will say, pretty therapeutic. Like, what I did is audiobooks and podcasts and make sure I had plenty of suntan lotion and just
a couple of beers maybe?
Went back. No. I saved the beer for the reward at the end.
That's a good way to go.
And then just go back and forth of just laying down brick because once you have the foundation laid and the gravel and the sand and it's all level.
It feels good after that.
Yeah. Basically, after that point, you're just putting down brick.
It's like doing a puzzle.
Yeah.
But everything before that is god-awful.
Yeah. Hot housing talk. Coming soon, baby.
New podcast?
I don't know.
I'm still waiting on the numerology podcast,
I could use a couple more. Yeah. Speaking of the flagship podcast, the Vikings.
Yeah.
Thoughts on the draft coming up?
Oh, man, it's weird not having that first-round pick. But
also
what do we do? I mean, so Teddy's option is coming up, right? Mm-hmm. What are they going to do?
Teddy's and Bar's option coming up. They have until the beginning of May, I believe. I don't have a specific date.
3rd, I think I heard?
It's early. It was May 3rd last year. I don't know what it is this year.
Early May.
Yeah, you've heard like Mike Evans just got picked up today. Aaron Donalds got picked up. I think
Who did Mike Evans get picked up by?
Tampa.
Oh, they picked up his fifth
option. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I think Anthony Barr is going to be the real question because he was picked 8th overall, so he's going to get paid the equivalent to the top 10, the transition tag, even though that's never used anymore.
$10+ million, probably?
It's both of them are around 12, 13. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I figured it out earlier.
Sure.
And the thing that throws off Bars is Von Miller's and Justin Houston's contract just completely warps the linebacker market.
Anthony Barr is not Von Miller.
Yeah. And with him, you are going to have to be worried about injury guarantee. Like Sharif Floyd, I still haven't confirmed this, but I'm pretty sure it's true. He was the first of the fifth-year option crop since they installed in 2011 to have his option picked up and then injury guaranteed.
Sure.
Because of his complication with the surgery. And with Barr, he hasn't had any major injuries, but he has had enough nicks and scratches where it does make you question.
And some inconsistency.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone can see the explosiveness. It's there. I remember people being very skeptical about the Anthony Barr pick. How did you feel on it originally?
I was a little surprised, but since it was a hand-picked Zimmer guy, you didn't know because he was a hand-in-the-dirt D-end / running back at UCLA. So
he played running back?
Yeah,
I don't know if I
first
knew
couple
that.
years he played running back.
Okay.
Like him and Miles Jack started off as running backs at UCLA.
That's weird.
Yeah. And so we're like, so is B-Rob going to play D-tackle? Is Everson going to kick in? What's going to be going on? It's like, he's going to play strong side linebacker.
Sure.
Who really knew? And he's had his ups and downs. I'm sure he made the Pro Bowl 2 years ago, whatever. But
it's a lot of money for that.
There's like so much potential there.
I know.
Yeah. And you could tell that he was really playing hurt last year. Like that wrist was never right. And, if you got a messed up wrist, you're going to miss a couple of you're not going to put yourself in harm's way. Like
it reminds me of the Terry Ryan Minnesota Twins. Someone's injured.
Yep.
They kind of hide it. They don't hide it. They're never upfront about the extent of it. I think Anthony Barr was, if he's the player we saw prior to last year when he's healthy, something was off. Clearly.
And with Teddy,
I'm a huge Teddy truther.
Yeah. I think you do have to pick it up, especially since it's pretty promising that maybe he's not 100% at the beginning of 2017, but it looks like he'll be ready to go for 2018. And with a showdown looming with Bradford, you don't want to be in a spot where you're going to be without both of them.
That's what worries me. I haven't heard, and maybe the Vikings are just decent at keeping this stuff under wraps. I haven't heard anything about talks, negotiations.
I thought you were going to say about you haven't heard anything about Teddy, but his girlfriend put out on either Instagram or Snapchat about him dancing at the bowling alley.
I got to follow his girlfriend.
It's like, is that boo?
How are Teddy's moves?
He was looking good. A little stiff. Like a lot of his moves were robot-esque. Like
is he just a guy though? Like
he wasn't.
Can't dance for shit.
I think if he's fully healthy, he could drop some Chris Brown action. Little pop and lock in. But Yeah, he wasn't. It was good to see him moving. The Vikings are back in town now. I don't think he's going to do anything in the offseason program. But after the draft, when OTAs start heating up, if Teddy gets in there with a couple reps, that's when people are going to be like, oh, here we go, here we go.
Will they push him that hard? Or will they...
I think well, obviously all players will want to push it. I hope that they pull the reins back a little bit, especially when Bradford in hand. He played very well last year, probably his best season of his career.
Fully agree.
And it's everything you expected from number 1 overall pick. We're happy for you. And
I'd like to see Sam Bradford with a little more time with Pat Shurmur.
Yeah,
I think there was something there. He played better at the end of the year, I think.
Yep.
But being a Teddy truther, here's the thing I always noticed about Teddy Bridgewater. You get to the fourth quarter, close game, pressure's on. He's unflappable.
Yeah.
He seems to play the best when the pressure is the highest. And I don't know if I see that with Sam Bradford. I just don't.
It's either you have it or you don't.
It's like a gut thing, right? No sabermetrics. It's just Teddy always seemed to rise when that moment presented him.
Yeah, and finally out of the shadows of Adrian Peterson, I would love to see what Teddy can do. But team-wise, it does make sense to pick up the option. If Bradford plays lights out again, you can't really take the job away from him.
Right.
I'd say you sign him long-term, and then you shop Teddy. There'll be a market for Teddy. I mean, there's a market for Jimmy friggin' Garoppolo.
And many other, Mike Glennon. And,
or what you could do, and this is risky because teams will know that you're not going to keep both of them. Have Teddy on his fifth-year option, franchise Bradford, shop Bradford. Because if Bradford has another great season, he will definitely be in demand.
Yes, absolutely. What is the franchise tag running at for quarterbacks?
Next year, I think it'll be like $18 million.
Whew.
Yeah. So that's what the gamble is, because Teddy will be clocking in at 12, 13. Then you got Bradford on the books for 18. And teams will know that you're not keeping both of them.
Yes.
So they're going to lowball you, so they'll have to be in love with one or the other.
Right.
Yeah. Because everyone brings it back to, the Patriots franchise Castle and then traded him to Kansas City. Well, that's because Scott Pioli was out in KC at the same time.
He had a connection to it.
Yeah, him and Belichick go way back. And it's like that deal was done before he was even tagged.
Bring it full circle. Matt Castle injured. Teddy Bridgewater starting.
Yeah. I mean,
quicker than anticipated.
It's just that, like, imagine I always play the what if scenario, because obviously if Teddy didn't get hurt, what he could have done in year 3.
Yeah.
Offense more catered to him.
Yep.
He had amazing preseason, looked great in Mankato. And then also, if Taylor Heineke didn't put his foot through the door, I think he would have had a great preseason.
That's kind of the wild card.
I think he would have been QB2.
Yep.
I don't think we necessarily trade for Bradford.
Maybe not. There was so much hype around Taylor Heineke before injury. Did something change? Do they think less of him now? I don't know. It seems like he's got pushed aside.
I know Zimmer thinks he's a dumbass.
Don't we all? That story he told, complete bullshit.
That doesn't hold. Like, maybe if it happened at like 2 in, maybe.
Sure.
But not at the time it did.
Do we have a time? Did they release that?
Well, it was early morning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we all make good early morning decisions, right?
My whole thing, did you see he put out a picture on Twitter or Instagram of him and his girlfriend, like on the, I think Sears Tower maybe, where you go out on this glass
Willis
enclosure?
Tower? Yeah.
Maybe. And you're like standing above things, like, better not put his foot through that.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
I did not see that. Man, sometimes those kind of stories just write themselves, right?
So we detoured back to the draft.
Yes. I don't know. I don't dive too deep into the draft. I rely on you guys. Andy, Luke and Arif, Football Machine. Quick plug.
And I rely on Luke and Arif.
Yes, right. But you're there for the jokes, right? Yeah. And then they get offended by you. But that's okay. No, they take it in stride. I think you kind of have to go O-line, don't you? First pick.
Yeah, if it shakes out like that.
Unless there's no obvious good choice there. Man, watching that O-line last year was hard.
Well,
especially if you're going to invest $18 million in Sam Bradford and possibly $12 million on an injured Teddy Bridgewater. how do you not take the steps to protect them? I don't know.
I think people are still a little gloom and doom on the O-line, except Riley Reef, Mike Remmers, not the sexiest picks in the world.
Feel good about those?
Yeah. Like, they're going to be solid. I think Reef is going to be a better left tackle than he was right tackle last year.
Sure.
And Remmers, I mean, we have jokes that he was on the Vikings practice squad a couple years ago, but he's a workman-like. Like, he'll be a fine right tackle, even better right guard if we pick up like a Taylor Moton in the second round. And it's going to have bodies that are reliable.
I agree. And it's kind of tough, though, because we went into the beginning of last year. They signed Alex Boone.
Yeah.
People thought that the depth of the O-line was the strength, right?
Yeah.
And how quickly that dissolved, right?
Yeah, I almost wish Spielman would take a cue from Buccaneers GM Jason Licht, who took a lot of shit when he took Roberto Aguayo, the kicker, in the second round.
Yeah.
And Aguayo was terrible. He was worse than Blair Walsh. And
that's saying a lot.
They signed Nick Folk to a guaranteed contract, so either way they're going to be paying a kicker not to play for them. But I do like how he sort of readily admitted his mistake and is ready to move on if he doesn't step up.
I think that's the ultimate flaw in Rick Spielman.
Well, Flemings and Beavers got to go.
Beavers, man.
Worst pick since Scott Crichton.
He was, even out of college, not that highly regarded.
Willie Beavers was the only person that P.J. Fleck doesn't get hyped about.
P.J. Fleck will get hyped about anything.
Yeah.
That Easter egg hunt?
Player A, he's elite. Player B, he's elite.
Yeah,
Player
right.
C, he's elite. Willie Beavers. Well, let me talk about Willie Beavers.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Rick Spielman has a serious problem admitting mistake. And you get to that level, I get it. I mean, I mentioned Terry Ryan earlier, right? Mm-hmm. Same kind of deal.
A guy who stuck around for too long.
Byron Buxton, cough, cough.
Yeah. Although Spielman, in the camp of not being too knee-jerk reaction, in fairness, if you have a little patience, Xavier Rhodes panned out.
Definitely.
Yeah, and Trey Waynes hopefully is going to pan out. I know that people are ready to bring out the pitchforks for Treadwell.
Right.
But there's a fine line between having patience and knowing what you have and moving on. Like Clemmings, you know what you have, move on. Willie Beavers was a bad pick to begin with. You kind of already know what you have. You cut him. You cut a fourth-round pick after training camp going into the season.
And you don't have to be ashamed about that, right? I mean, that's the NFL draft. I think you talk to people that actually know what they're talking about. It's a crapshoot at the end of the day. You never know. I mean, it'll be interesting. It's hard to get really hyped about it when we don't have a pick until 48.
Well,
it's hard.
This might be great for Spielman because he doesn't have a high-profile guy to bust on.
There's no pressure. Yeah, exactly.
So, honestly, if there's no one that really strikes our fancy at 48 and someone wants to move up, move on down again.
Yeah.
Try and get that fourth-rounder back
at this
year.
point, we don't have a ton to lose at 48, right? All of the top players are off the board.
Well, last year was a third-round pick that Miami wanted Leonte Carew for some reason, and then net us the third and fourth-rounder this year.
Right.
So, if someone wants a second and is willing to give up like a fifth this year, a third, and fourth, and a sixth next year, okay.
Once you get to that point, the draft has depth, but it's not just those top-end guys.
Yeah.
So, but how often do those top-end guys bust out? I mean, some of the biggest busts in NFL history have been guys picked in the top 10.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think this is very unscientific, but I feel like the bust rates for the first 4 rounds are all 50%.
Right.
But the busts at the top of the first round get a lot more attention than the busts at the back end of the fourth.
It's all PR, right?
Yeah.
They get noticed.
Yeah, fan bases are tying their hopes and dreams to a quarterback, running back, receiver, DN, and he doesn't pan out. But if that fourth rounder rises up and plays well, like Olivier Vernon for the Dolphins a couple of years ago, it's like, oh, what a nice surprise.
Absolutely.
It's a free roll.
Then you look like a genius, right?
Yeah.
You have none of the pressure of the top picks, all of the upside of, hey, we picked a really great player in the fourth round.
Yeah.
So.
Now, you and I are not great hockey people, but it is a very Minnesota thing to have one of the highest scoring teams in the league.
Franchise records.
Yeah, and then get shut down by some jabroni named Jake.
So I watched the first 2 games very intently.
Yeah.
I started calling them the Hockey Vikings. Don't feel great about that. felt like I maybe cursed them.
Yeah.
Didn't watch much of the third game. No difference.
Yeah, watched a bunch of the third games since it was Easter, and that's what you do at holidays with family. You just watch sports so you don't have to converse. And the first period...
Can't relate to that at all.
The first period, then all of the play, this is very unscientific, but all the play was down in the wild defensive end.
Yep.
The Blues,
which has been rare for this series. I mean, we've spent so much time in their end and can't put it home.
Someone had a great meme, was like, Jake Allen can't get in a groove if you don't have any shots on goal or something like that.
He's got to be pressured to... Yeah, he's been incredible. I don't know. I think what hurts the most about this, Mike Yeo.
Oh, yeah. Forgot about him. Now,
he's a guy.
I always have this thing of, do people have a dip in or not? Or do they have a lip thing? Like,
I think he's just putting his tongue there.
Yeah, or like Bubba from Forrest Gump had a lip thing.
Right.
But, yeah, like Adrian Peterson, Mike Zimmer, Mike Yeo, I always thought had dips in.
Adrian might.
Oh, Adrian definitely did. Now,
I can't tell with Yo, but
yeah,
is he like spitting on the backs of his players? I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah. Speaking of Adrian, I've had some sort of heated debate with the guys. I don't think he's on a roster week 1 of 2017.
Oh, that's a tough one. It's all about money, right?
Yeah.
And he's so off. I get to deal with this when I sell houses. Sometimes the anticipated value and the actual value are way off.
Yep.
And I think some team would take a flyer on him, but does he even care? Yeah. He could probably go get an endorsement deal for what he'd make in a year in the NFL now.
Oh, Adrian is the seller who has a 4-bedroom, 1.5 bath ranch in Hudson and is listing it at $1.2 million.
Thinks he lives in Edina?
Yeah.
There's definitely a dichotomy going on there. I personally think he could bring something to the right team in the right situation, right?
Yeah.
We're seeing it with New England. They're kind of trying to put the screws to LeGarrette Blount, who has a very defined role. He knows he's not going to get all of the carries every week. That's just not what he is.
I love Belichick. He's such a gangster negotiator.
You're a big Pats fan, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm a not-so-closet Pats fan, mainly because I respect the hell out of Belichick.
You have to. I mean, my God, what he's built there is unmatched.
Also, I love that if lacrosse paid like a third of what the NFL did, he would be a lacrosse coach and not give a shit.
He might, yeah.
Like he'd go be the lacrosse coach of Marist or something.
He's a fascinating human being,
yeah.
and not that I hate the Patriots, but they're not super lovable. Other than you have to respect what they've done. I mean, if you're a football fan, there's no question.
And when Adam Thielen joins them in 3 years.
A lot of grit, right?
Because they'll be cycling through the white wide receivers. Edelman will be up by then.
Yep.
Josh, last question,
yes.
Real estate related. What's in the next 5 to 10 years, if a couple is looking to buy their first house or second house, what's going to be the next big hot neighborhood?
Cities are big right now.
Yep.
They're going through a renaissance. I think.
Any particular neighborhood?
Oh, I think, Northeast already has, right? That's already happening. So that's kind of a cop-out pick.
Yeah.
I really think that South Minneapolis to the east of 35W is bound to reap some benefits because the west side has reaped all of them, right? Uptown, 50th and France, Kingfield, all of those neighborhoods do fantastic.
Like east of 35 in South Minneapolis is interesting.
Even further east of 35W, east of 55, so you're kind of sandwiched between 55 and the river.
Yep.
Those neighborhoods tend to sell at a lower price.
Yeah.
They're going to do well. And I think it's because young people grew up in the suburbs and they never experienced what living in a city is really fun.
And also, if you're in that neighborhood, go to Longfellow, Blue Door Pub.
Heck yeah.
Baby. See,
Cluck, yeah.
I only visited that one once, and it's really interesting because it just pops up out of nowhere.
Yep.
Like, you're just driving in this normal-looking neighborhood, and then all of a sudden, oh, bam.
That was the first one I went to.
Really?
Before this one opened.
It's not as cozy as the St. Paul one, but
different.
not as wide open as this one. I kind of like this one. I'm a little agoraphobic.
I like this one.
Yeah.
It might be a regular. They're going to know my name soon.
Bam. All right, Josh, what's coming from you? What's big?
We're ramping up. It's spring selling season. So if you're looking to sell, if you've been thinking about it, contact me. We can meet. Mm-hmm. How can we maximize your value in selling it? If you've been looking to buy, probably just filed your taxes. Mm-hmm. Maybe got a nice little refund, unlike Andy and I.
Yeah.
Now's the time to get ready. You maybe already should, but...
Is this time of year the biggest buying period?
Yes.
Because of, spring and taxes, tax returns and whatnot?
I think in Minnesota, I only am licensed here, so I don't pay attention to Wisconsin, Iowa, whatever. It's very cyclical. So now's the time to prep. Check today. A lot of houses came on the market in the last couple days. Mm-hmm. Kind of shocking. Easter, right? People are busy. That one surprised me a little bit. So
now, do you check the MLS like most people check Facebook?
Yes.
Nice.
Absolutely.
That's good. And I'll tell you what, from personal, getting to know Josh, and the wife and I are going to be looking to upgrade here in a couple of years, I'm picking Josh.
We're going to get you that $1.9 million house in Orono.
How awesome would it be if I'm your first $1 million house?
That would be fantastic.
Yeah. Except let's do it out in the country and get as much land and house as possible.
Absolutely.
Just for the LOLs.
I do it all. Anywhere in the 7-county metro area.
JoshPelto.com, RE/MAX preferred. Hit him with the phone number.
763-213-4617.
Oh, yeah. Hey, appreciate you coming on, Josh.
Absolutely. This has been really fun. I've never done a podcast before, so I enjoyed it.
You can be the permanent fill-in guest because we didn't get Barrero today.
I'm like Barrero, but a little less Pitchfork Nation, a little more hair. That's all I got.
That's all right, Dan. I will get you.
Sorry, Dan. I still listen to your show sometimes.
iTunes, Stitcher, iHeartRadio. And follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Andy Carlson. So, Josh, what's your Twitter?
My Twitter is Josh the Pelto.
Yeah.
I don't use it that often. I just mostly retweet Andy's stuff and like it.
That's the way to go.
Find me on Facebook, facebook.com/Josh Pelto Realtor. REALTOR.
Bam, bam, bam. Enjoy the show. Tell a friend, spread the word, add to the Jerome Homie Army. And thanks, producer Allie, for making me not sound so stupid tonight. But for Josh Pelto, I'm Andy Carlson saying Annyeong Sayonara, and bye-bye. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
Thanks for listening to Bull with Andy Carlson, Minnesota's 87th best daily podcast. Download the show on iTunes. Everyone's middle name is Jerome.